Dennis?
All right, thanks, Sue. Wait to hear this one, guys. President Obama's new pro-union rule for federal contracts went into effect this week. It essentially requires most federal construction contracts to use union labor, even though that will cost us more, and even though 85% of all construction workers aren't union members at all. Wall Street Journal did a scathing editorial on this today, saying Obama paying off the union cronies that helped elect him. One contractor quoted in that editorial joins us now. Brett McMahon is with Miller and Long Construction. Brett, thanks for being with us. You're a non-union shop, I got this right. So if you win a federal contract under this new rule, what happens and what's the extra cost?
Well, first of all, what happens is that none of my employees, at least 90% of my employees, would not be able to work on the job. I'd actually have to get people out of a union hiring hall. My guys would have zero seniority in that situation, so I'd be having to try and go to work with a bunch of people whose qualifications are totally unknown to me. That adds to both my risk and my potential cost, and frankly makes it virtually impossible for me to even reasonably consider bidding such a job.
A couple studies have shown the extra cost of using labor here from 9% to I think up to 20%. Does that sound about right? That's
about right. That's what we've seen about 25 years worth of studies and things shows about 20%. And you know, it's we just had 8 years where this type of agreement was prohibited on federal projects, and we had no issues and no problems. I noticed that the White House bloggers had to come up with Department of Energy projects to make their case. That was the only department that was grandfathered in under the previous administration's ban.
Mr. McMahon, what do you say to the unions who say, that's the whole idea. Our employees get paid better, and you, greedy corporate executives, ought to be paying your employees more, and this is the whole idea?
Unfortunately for them, the federal law says that you know, you got these Davis-Bacon wages on all these federal projects, so all the wages are standardized. The wage part of it isn't really the cost change. It's the feather bedding. It's having 5 guys do a 2-man job. It's those kinds of things that really drive up the cost. It's really not a wage issue anymore.
What is the real intent here? Sorry, Tyler, but what is the real intent here of the Obama administration? Is it to help the working man? Because unions represent only 7% of all private sector employees.
Unions' big problem is their pension system's pending collapse. What happens during this is every employee that works on this job, since they are then represented by a union, willingly or not only do they pay dues, but pension contributions will be set aside. They'll go into a pool that, unless they happen to work for the specified number of hours for 5 continuous years on that project, and I bet anybody they can find a 5-year construction project in the United States, they don't become vested. Therefore, the money that they put aside, and we're talking $6, $7, $8 an hour in some cases, goes into the pool to pay for guys who are either
and they never get it.
Retired.
And so it goes to union members. So this is basically kind of a shell game to fund union pension plans because they didn't fund them well enough themselves.
Exactly.
So, Brett, I want to point out that we're going to ask Austin Goolsbee about this regulation. He's one of the chief economists in the White House, and see what his take is on this later today, so that we get the other side of the story, because I'll guarantee you they don't see it this way. As I understand it, this effectively says that the bidders are encouraged to have these kinds of labor arrangements. That was a careful word in that Wall Street Journal editorial. Does it require it, or does it encourage it, or are those two things effectively the same?
The agencies are encouraged. In other words, the executive branch agencies are encouraged to do this, which is sort of like, you know, King Louis suggesting you do something.
Right.
Your chances are you're going to do it, but bidders are required to submit to these things, as are any of the contractors on the job.
If you chose to bid on this contract, you would have to agree to pay into the union funds, pension and benefit funds, whether you used union workers or not. And if at the end of this process, as I understand it, your employees chose not to join the union, as most would, I presume, choose not to, that money's lost. It goes to that union, stays there, right?
Exactly correct. I mean, it's really they get a free set of contributions with no accompanying account payable down the road. It's really a boon for them.
Wow, it pays to support the guy who wins the White House, doesn't it? So wonderful.